Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Let's Buck with Ben. This is episode 7. My name is Ben Cornett, and thank you for joining me tonight. On tonight's episode, we are going to talk about the 53-man roster that the Bucks set up, earlier this week. We'll also talk about the players that are going to be on the practice squad. We'll also discuss Ryan Jensen. Obviously, we got the news this past weekend during the Bucks game against the Ravens that he will not be available this year. He's going to be put on a season-ending IR. And we'll talk some more stuff about the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, again, this show, Let's Buck with Ben, is officially a Tampa Bay Buccaneers show. And we're going to be doing this every week now since we got football season coming up. In fact, the NFL season starts a week from tonight. That kicks off with the Lions and Chiefs, but more importantly, a week from this Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play the Minnesota Vikings up in Minneapolis to open their season. So let's begin with some talk about the 53-man roster, and it is set. As you know, it came out Tuesday. The coaches, the front office, they're going over this, and what I'm going to do is put up the 53-man roster up here on the board right now. So let's go over that. Obviously, by the way, how's everybody doing tonight? I'm doing good. Also, before we get into anything, you can follow me here on what's now X, used to be Twitter, at BennyBoy702. Let me put that down for a minute here. If you can see right there, I'm going to hide the ticker for a minute. I'm on X at BennyBoy702. You can watch this on YouTube at BenCornett9015. Right here on Facebook on the Ben Zone. If you're not in the Ben Zone, you're a friend of mine. I put it on my personal page as well, so you can watch. And I'm on Instagram as well at Ben702 Forever. That's Ben702 Forever. So those are my social media handles. You can follow me there. You can watch these shows on X, YouTube, and Facebook as well. So let me put the ticker back up there, and let's put what we're going to be talking about right now. So the 53-man roster is set, and we're going to put it up right here. Kind of go over that. There we are. And when you look at this, I don't think this really surprises anybody. At least it doesn't surprise me, obviously. So let's go over that right now. At the quarterback position, we all know Baker Field's a starter. Kyle Trask will be backing him up. So they're going to keep two quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. The offensive line, we all know Tristan Wirfs is at left tackle. Matt Failer, who came over from the Rams this past season in free agency. Robert Hainsey will be the center for the Buccaneers this year. Obviously, he's going to be replacing Ryan Jensen, and we'll discuss more on Ryan Jensen in a little bit. As you know, Ryan Jensen is not on the 53-man roster. Again, he was put on IR for the season, so that's why he's not on the roster. Cody Mock, the rookie, will be right tackle. Then you got Luke Goedeke, Mock is right guard, and Luke Goedeke will be taking Tristan Wirfs' place at right guard, or right tackle, I should say. And the backups, Aaron Staney, Nick Leverett, Brandon Walton, and Justin Skull. I'll be honest with you, I'm hoping we don't have to see too much of Staney, Leverett, Walton, or Skull this year, barring any injuries, because we all know last year we had to see a lot of different lineups for the Bucks, and that did not fare very well. So hopefully this unit can stay healthy, stay together all year long. I'm talking about Wirfs, Failer, Hainsey, Mock, and Luke Goedeke. Also, the running backs, as we're continuing our look at the roster, at least on offense, Rashad White is the starting running back. And we found out this week also that Sean Tucker is going to be the number 2 back. I think that's pretty cool. He's played pretty well in the preseason. Really like his upside. It also could be because I believe Chase Edmonds is still injured. He didn't play all preseason, so that could be because of that. But regardless, Sean Tucker is the number 2 guy, and also Keyshawn Vaughn is back with the BUCs. I didn't know if he was going to make the roster or not, but this could also be a special teams move, so Vaughn will be on the roster. The wide receivers, I don't think that's any shock to anybody. As you know, we all know the 2, Evans and Godwin, arguably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. You got Trey Palmer, who just lit it up in the preseason, definitely earned his spot on the roster, and I would consider him the number 3 receiver, especially when you're filling in for a guy like Russell Gage, who unfortunately in training camp had a season-ending injury. It's really unfortunate there. You got Devin Tompkins, who is on the team as well. He'll probably be our kick returner, playing on special teams. And Raheem Jarrett is the other wide receiver. He's the 5th and final receiver on the team. Jarrett showed some good flashes in the preseason as well. So, yeah, that sets up our wide receivers right there. The tight ends, as we finish up with the offensive side of the ball. Cade Otton, he's back. O'Keefe as well. That's no surprise. But Payne Durham, he made the roster. That's a little bit of surprise for me. I didn't know how well he would do in preseason. I didn't know if Bucks were going to go with him, but they sure did. And that's good for Payne. I'm glad he's out of Purdue. Ironically, that's where one of the all-time Bucks greats, Mike Allstott, went to Purdue as well. So congratulations to Payne Durham. David Wells is on the team as well. So the Bucks carrying 4 tight ends, 4 running backs. Can't say I'm shocked by that, especially with the new offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, how he runs his offense. So you're going to see a lot of run plays, especially with Baker Mayfield. You see a lot of run RPOs, perhaps. So, yeah, this is a pretty good-looking offense. Obviously, the wide receivers are probably the best part of our offense, as you know, Evans, Godwin. Rashad White, he's going to get a chance to start. This is his second year. It's time for him to, be the man and hopefully be that guy that Jason Light drafted in the second round. Again, there's a lot of upside for Rashad. But, again, this is only his second year, and we got to see how he can do as a starter. Like I said, I'm kind of high on Sean Tucker. I think he's very talented. Could be a nice, dual threat running back. He's also a good catching wide receiver as well. So we could see a lot of screenplays. And with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback, that the screenplays are going to be there more often than not. So it will definitely help our offense be more versatile. So, and Chase Edmonds, he's a free agent that came over from Arizona, and Keyshawn Vaughn. So, yeah. Let's see here. What else do we have? Yeah, that's it. That's it for the offense there. Now let's go to the defense, which I'm actually confident about. I know a lot of people, there's some fans that aren't as confident, but I am. I love what we have on our defense, and the reason I say that is because we got veterans on our defense. Just a few years ago, we won the Super Bowl. In case people forgot, we ended up winning the Super Bowl. So let's start out with the hold on a second. Yeah, the offensive linebackers. As you see, you're going to have Shaquille Barrett. He's back, back from a Achilles injury, and hopefully he can regain that form. We all know the unfortunate thing that happened to him in the off season with his family. So, hopefully being back on the field will give him a little, help him out a little bit, get over that grief a little bit. Can never get over what happened with him, but I'm sure Shaq Barrett's I'm sure he's thrilled to be back, and we're gonna need him this year. So I can't wait to see what he can do. Uh, Joe Tyron Shoyinka is the other offensive linebacker. Again, big, big year from him that we need from him. Obviously, this is kind of a prove it year for JTS. The last couple years he really hasn't played up to his draft status, in my opinion. He's got talent, but we haven't really seen him, become that guy that that we had with Jason Pierre-Paul. So, the athleticism's there, but he's only had, I believe, 4 sacks in 2 seasons for the Bucs. To me, that's not enough. You really got to start taking care of business, JTS. This is the year, or else they may let him walk in free agency. So we'll see how he plays this year. He did play pretty good in the last preseason game against the Ravens. Or I'm sorry, I think it was before that with the Jets. He was able to get a sack on Aaron Rodgers. So I know it's preseason, but still, if you can sack Aaron Rodgers, that's pretty good. Anthony Nelson is there. He's going to be rotating. I like Anthony Nelson. He's a good rotational linebacker. He's played pretty good in preseason as well. He's definitely looking to improve his stock. Cam Gill, I really like. He had another guy that had a great preseason, made a lot of good tackles, had a lot of pressures in the preseason as well. So again, good rotation right there. The rookie Yaya Diaby, who I think is ultra talented. I love the guy's speed. He's out of Louisville. He did okay in the preseasons, but I still think he's going to be very good. Again, just going to take some time, develop, but the ceiling for him is limitless. And the other offensive linebacker, Marquise Watts, again, another guy that stood out in the preseason, played very well. Todd Bowles really likes him. And I'm sure him and Diaby are going to definitely do some stuff on special teams as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's go with the inside linebackers. As we all know, the man, Levante David, he's back. Man, it's hard to believe he's been in the league since 2012. This is going to be his 12th year in the league. I mean, this guy, to me, he's one of the best of all time. I think it's when we say Mount Rushmore for Bucs players, I mean, you got to think about it. Like, he may get some love, and he may get some conversation in that. I mean, Levante just does it year in and year out. Can't wait to see him back on the field this year. And we got Devin White. Obviously, this is another guy who's looking for the bag. He wants that big contract. He needs to prove it this year. He had a lot of talk in the offseason how he, was upset about not getting the contract extension. But to me, he's got to show it. He's got to prove it. After the Super Bowl run, he's been kind of inconsistent with his play. He's made some great plays here and there, but we need more consistency out of Mr. White. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but he is very vital to our defense, especially in the inside linebacker position. KG Britt, he is another guy I really like. Did well in the preseason, made a lot of splash plays, some good tackling. Another guy that's got a lot of athleticism, size. He's going to be a good rotational guy coming in and out of the lineup, spilling some time for either Devin or Levante. So glad he made the team. And a guy I really like that's, opened some eyes in the preseason and in training camp, Mr. Past the Servassier Dennis right there. Yeah, I gave him a nickname. I'm sure we should get like Buster Rhymes to do a remix. Like instead of pass the Cavassier, how about pass the Servassier? Let's go with that. Like that. So well, I know Buster Rhymes ain't watching, but if he was by mistake, think about it. Pass the Servassier. But no, seriously, he's been somebody that's done well in training camp and could be, if let's say Devin White ends up leaving, uh, he could be the future for this team. So just saying, just keep an eye on that. We also got, let's go to the defensive line. As we all know, we got the man, Vita Vea. To me, future Hall of Famer. And another guy, maybe 10, 15 years from now, we could also say in the conversation for the Mount Rushmore of Buccaneers. Definitely Ring of Honor for sure. Logan Hall. By the way, Vita Vea, there's nothing more to say than he's just a great defensive lineman. Just one of the best. He learned from Mr. Ndamukong Suh, so I expect Via to continue to command those double teams and run through those double teams this year. In order to do that too, he could use a little help there from Logan Hall. Here's another guy I think kind of got to get it going this year. We drafted him last year in the I believe the first pick of the second round. He's got talent. He's got a good motor, but just needs a little more playing time and also some more consistency with his play. But hey, Logan's definitely got the talent and the tools to help this defense out. The rookie Elijah Cansey, he, again, another great talent. I think another great pick from Jason Light. As you know, he did not play in the preseason because he had an ankle injury, but he should be ready to go before week 1. That's what I'm hearing. Hopefully that's the case, because we'd love to see Kalijah out there do his thing. Again, I think this guy is such a great defensive lineman. The speed, the quickness, and he's very disciplined too. And that's the key too, especially when you're a rookie like that. Coming out of the University of Pittsburgh. Just watch his game tape. It's just fun to watch. He doesn't over pursue. He can break through the tackles, kind of like Vita Vea. Now Cansey's a little small for his size, but who was small too? Aaron Donald. Where did he go? Oh yeah, Pittsburgh. So yeah, Cansey, he plays like he's bigger than his actual size. So you got to love that with those guys. And of course, the veteran Will Golston is also on that defensive line. He, is back with the Bucs. He's been here since day one. Since 2014, and a good veteran presence and also can still play. He did pretty good in the game against the Ravens and the Jets as well. So Golston still has it, but he's definitely going to be helpful to the young guys like Cansey and Logan Hall. A couple guys here, Greg Gaines and Mike Green, they make the roster. Again, rotational players. Gaines, very talented. Also Mike Green. They'll probably play some special teams as well. So, but yeah, this is a very loaded defensive line. And you got to have depth there, obviously, because, again, with the injuries that this team has had lately, last few years, depth is vital in the trenches. So having 6 guys there, I like it. Let's get to the cornerbacks right here. Obviously, we know the usual suspects. Carlton Davis, he's back. He was talking about how he wants to, telling the press that this defense is going to be back. It's going to be better than ever. I can't wait to see that. Hopefully he backs that talk up. Carlton Davis, one of the better cover guys in the league, along with his partner, Jamel Dean, who's, one of the better cornerbacks in the league as well. Very good at breaking up passes. yeah, these two guys, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on these guys to do well, especially when you're in a division where you got to go up against guys like Chris Olave, uh, and you got Adam Thielen, guys like that. You're going to have to, you play the 49ers this year. Obviously, you got to deal with Debo and their other receivers as well. So, yeah, but this team, Carlton Davis has proved he can be one of the better corners in the league. Very physical as well. He'll draw some penalties here and there, but you got to love his physicality. So, yeah, this is a good starting group here. And also, some of the guys that are going to be helping them out, Zion McCollum. I thought he had a pretty good preseason. I know some say that he didn't play as well. I thought he did pretty good. He had an interception against the Steelers. He's getting better. But again, he'll be on special teams, I'm sure. But I think he can, if he can improve on his play, and I think he'll definitely be a very good depth, especially with, losing Sean Murphy-Bunting as well. So, that was a big loss for the BUCs, obviously. He went to Tennessee, so we're looking for that that nickel corner that can fill in for SMB. And McCollum can, seems like he could be the guy. He's got the athleticism, the hands, the speed to keep up with the slot receivers. So, yeah, I think he'll do okay. D. Delaney, he's on the 53-man roster as well. Very underrated, good depth. He'll fill in nicely when Jamel Dean needs to take a breather, or Carlton Davis. So I do like D. Delaney. He's last couple of years, he's been really improving, in training camp. And yeah, I think he's going to provide good depth along with McCollum there. And the other two guys, Josh Hayes, I should say, and Derek Pitts on the team. So yeah, a lot of depth, as you notice, with the defensive line and the defensive backs. So that definitely helps us. Let's go to the safeties here. Obviously, Antoine Winfield Jr. Now, he didn't play this preseason. He did get hurt in the joint practices against the Jets. Actually, his status is questionable for week 1. Hopefully, he'll be ready to go, but we'll have to see what happens there. But man, I expect him to, once he gets healthy, and expect him to have a great year. I really do. I mean, I still think he's one of the better safeties in the league. Injuries have kind of, been an issue with Winfield, but if he can bounce back and play like he did, his rookie year in 2021, this guy's one of the best safeties in football, and I would not want to be thrown near, anywhere near him from the opponent's quarterbacks. So, yeah, I expect him to, once he gets healthy, have a nice year, and he's another one of those guys we gotta sign. So, long term, because I don't think you want to let somebody like him get away. Here's one that got away from the Seahawks and is now with the Buccaneers, Ryan Neal. He came along from Seattle last year. Again, another guy that I think is going to be a key to this team, as far as the veteran leadership goes. A very hard hitter. He plays very physical. That's something that, this defense kind of needs more of. So he's definitely going to be a physical presence for the backfield, along with the Christian Isian and Kayvon Merriweather. Both those guys had a good training camp, and they will provide nice depth. Now, I'm assuming that if Winfield does not play week 1, it'll be Isian that's going to fill in for him. So, yeah, hopefully Winfield plays, but if not, then you got some quality depth with Isian and Merriweather. And finally, let's get to the specialist. As you know, kicker Chase McLaughlin won the kicking job in training camp. Him and Rodrigo Blankenship competed for that spot. Obviously, McLaughlin was the better man in this one. He made all his kicks in preseason, while Mr. Blankenship did not, and that's why McLaughlin is our kicker. Our punter, Jake Camarda, I mean, probably one of the best punters in the game today. Obviously, not much to say about him except he's freaking great. Glad to have a guy like him on our team. He's really been the big difference maker. I mean, especially some of the plays he's made the last couple of years, or last year, obviously. Game against the Saints, I believe he had a game-saving tackle. I mean, this guy is just fun to watch. I know punters and kickers aren't the glamorous position, but sometimes a guy like Jake Camarda, man, he really gets some great hang time on his punts. So yeah, I'm excited. I like McLaughlin and Camarda there, and obviously the long snapper is Zach Trinner. Solid dude. He had a good training camp as well. So that is your 53-man roster. Boys and girls, tell me what you think. Is this the roster you like here? I mean, I think it's pretty darn good. Let's go back here. There I am. And you finally see me again. I do have a face for podcasts, not necessarily for vlogs. Just kidding. But yeah, that was the 53-man roster that we saw there. Again, I think it's pretty talented. Got a lot of good veteran leadership on the defensive side of the ball and somewhat on the offensive side of the ball as well, with Evans and Godwin. I guess you could say Tristan Wirfs is a veteran. This is his fourth year, but guys like Evans who've been here for over a decade. Godwin's been here since 2015, about to be a decade. So, yeah, I mean, we're very young on that offensive line and the tight end position, with Otten and Keefe. This is only their second year. So same with Rashad White. It's his second year in the league. Edmonds has been in the league for a few years, but, Tucker's a rookie. So, it's going to be very interesting. Mayfield, he's been in the league for a while now, even though it's only his sixth or seventh year, I believe, in the league. It seems like he's been there a little bit, but he hasn't played that long. So, and like I said, with Baker Mayfield, this is kind of maybe his last chance, to continue his career as a NFL quarterback. So he certainly has the pieces in place for him. I've been on record saying that he's not one of my favorite quarterbacks. I don't think he's great, but if you do put him in the right situation with a good offensive line, some good pieces, like he did in Cleveland, manages the game well, doesn't turn the ball over. If he doesn't do that, then I think he'll do pretty good for this offense. So we'll see what happens. I know Kyle Trask was somebody that a lot of the fans liked and wanted to see. Certainly, he played pretty well in the preseason. But it is still a little hard to see, Trask, especially when you're playing against, second and third string defenses and also with second string, offensive pieces. So it's a little tough to judge. I wish we could have had a chance to see Kyle Trask play with a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin. We did play a little bit Godwin, but we would have liked to seen him and Evans, play a little bit together. But they made their decision. They're going with Baker. He's played in the league for a while. He's been in the playoffs, won a playoff game. So, that is some valuable experience, and they feel like he fits better with this current offense, with Dave Canales. So, yeah, well, all I can say is we'll see what happens. If Baker if he just manages the game well, doesn't turn the ball over too much, this Bucs offense can be pretty good. So I know it's a far cry from Tom Brady, but it was Tom Brady. I mean, nobody can beat Tom Brady, but it's going to be a different look, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. Sometimes different is good. Um, especially with a team that's going through a lot of transition. Um, a lot of changes. Now you got an offensive coordinator that's going to be a little more creative, likes to run the ball more. Our previous offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, I'm sorry, I just didn't think he was creative enough. And now you got somebody that, what he did in Seattle with Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, uh, Tyler Lockett, and DJ Metcalf. I mean, Canales can call plays, so that's why I'm a little excited that about this offense being a little different. Can't wait to see that incorporated with the BUCs, with Mayfield, Evans, Godwin, Rashad White, Kate Otten. So yeah, I can't wait to see it. We've got a few comments here tonight. Let me get to those. Who is this? Need some help. Oh, Marty. Marty, how you doing, man? Yeah, let me send you the link if you want to come on, if you're still on. Is that Sean Tucker running back 2 rumor true? Yeah, it is. Will. They announced this week that he will be the backup running back to Mr. Rashad White. So I believe also it's because Edmonds might not be ready for week 1. I've heard something that he didn't play in preseason, so he is dealing with a little bit of an injury. So we'll see what happens there. But thank you, Will, for tuning in. Marty, thank you. I heard Isaiah is the starting nickel. He might be. I know Ryan Neal was supposed to be one of the starters. Maybe he is going to be rotating with Eisen. So, yeah, thank you for that info there, Will. Marty, if you're still watching, I will try and bring you on. Let me get the link real quick. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, but I will be back in a minute. So hang tight, and I will see you guys in a minute right here on Let's Buck with Ben. See you in about a minute. All right, we're back here on Let's Buck with Ben. Let me get a drink there. All right, so we talked about the starting roster, the 53-man roster. Let's talk about the practice squad as well. That came out yesterday, I believe. Put that up there. Right there, as you can see, there are 14 players that were put on the practice squad. Just go over those. Linebacker Brandon Boyer Randall. Defensive lineman CJ Brewer. Offensive lineman Silas Zanzi. Hope I said that right. Offensive lineman Luke Haggard. Cornerback Keenan Isaac, who I thought he played pretty good in the preseason. Glad he was able to be put on the practice squad. Wide receiver Cephas Johnson III. Safety Richard LeConte III. We've got a lot of thirds in the practice squad. Wide receiver Ryan Miller, wide receiver David Moore, another offensive lineman, Raquan O'Neal, offensive linebacker Jose Ramirez, who we drafted in I think it was the seventh round as well. Linebacker J.J. Russell, tight end Tanner Talua, and quarterback John Wolford, who unfortunately had that injury against the Jets, but he seems to be doing better. But yeah, he's on the practice squad as well. So good for Mr. John Wolford there. Actually, he came over from the Rams. He was on that Super Bowl winning team for the Rams back in 2021. So that is your 14-player practice squad team right there. Like I said, I really liked Keenan Isaac. I think he, you know, I thought he would probably make the 53-man roster, but that wasn't the case. But he is here on the practice squad, so good for him. Glad the Bucs were able to put him there. Yeah, so that is your practice squad roster right there. So next up, speaking of guys who are not on the roster this year, and it was unfortunate that he's not going to be here this year. If you saw this past Saturday night during the Bucs game against the Ravens on the telecast, Chris Myers and Rondé Barber had Jason Light, the GM of the Bucs, in the booth in the third quarter. He announced that Ryan Jensen would be put on season-ending IR. Apparently, they said, there was more damage to the knee than they assumed. There was, setbacks with Ryan Jensen. As you all know, last training camp, he tore pretty much every ligament in his knee. And unfortunately, he didn't play last year. He did play in the playoff game against the Cowboys. Probably not the smartest move there. They say that may have done some further damage. So he is going to be on the IR for this year. And yeah, so I'll tell you who is available for us. Not on the team, but on my team. A good friend of mine is joining us on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring him in. Good friend of mine, Mr. Marty McKnight. Marty, how you doing, man? Oh, I love that sound.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Drinking beer and talking football.
I love it. Marty, so what do you think, man? What do you think of our 53-man roster this year?
Honestly, it's kind of what I expected. Having what's his name, Tucker, being the second running back was to me was the only surprise that stuck out this season.
Okay.
When you got Edmonds and then you got Vaughn, and Vaughn's been on the team since 2021.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now it's the fourth running back. It doesn't bode well for his NFL future if he's going to be the fourth down or fourth running back on the roster. But
right.
Everything else kind of pretty much is not a big major surprise to me. I like the defense and the defensive line if we can get a couple more people healthy, but it wasn't a big surprise except the second running back.
Okay. Well, I thought Tucker did pretty good in preseason, though, Marty. He did it against kind of inexperienced offensive linemen. I thought he did better with that lineman position than, let's say, a Keyshawn Vaughn. He did more with his opportunity, I thought.
Yeah. Keyshawn Vaughn, he's had his opportunities to be the second or third down running back, and it just seemed like it just is not going to pan out. I mean, I can see him being waived after this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's probably going to be on special teams to start out with. Anyway, so yeah, I think, and with Edmonds, I think he's still injured, so that may be a reason why they might have bumped Tucker up to number 2 for now. He didn't play in the preseason, Chase Edmonds, so he's our free agent signing from Arizona. So
Yeah, he
Uh,
played his first preseason game, if I remember
oh,
correctly.
okay, but he did get hurt though, so he hadn't
Oh yeah,
played.
yeah.
So,
After the Steelers game, he got hurt. I want to say it was that following week of the joint practices he got hurt.
and another guy that unfortunately got hurt was Antoine Winfield, Marty Jr. Obviously, he sustained an injury in training camp during the joint practices, so his status is kind of up in the air for week one. That's huge because we really need him, man, in that backfield. And if he's not available first week against Minnesota, who like to pass the football a lot, that could be a big loss in that game.
It is. I'm hoping it's something minor. I heard a hamstring. I could be wrong on that,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully it's something that he can come back. I mean, we got 10 more days before
Right.
we kick off, so kind of cross, or as a Buccaneer fan, kind of cross your fingers and kind of hope for the best. But he has had issues the last 2 seasons of staying on the field for 16 games or 17 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. If he can just stay healthy, he is one of the best safeties in the league, I think. So, yeah, hopefully, again, like you said, 10 more days. It's plenty of time. If it's not a serious injury, he can give it a go. But at the same time, you don't want him to, put more problems on. If it's an injury that's more serious, you don't want him just to rush back and he gets hurt again. We don't want that. So we'll see what happens there. But I mean, we got Ryan Neal, Isaiah. I think could fill in nicely. Again, hopefully that's not for multiple games. You want Winfield back ASAP. But at the same time, if he's not available for a little bit, then I think we do have quality backup safeties for the team.
I like Ryan Neal. I think that was going. I think it's going to end up being like a sleeper pickup from the free agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he came from Seattle. Very physical safety as well. So, the Bucks could use more physicality in the defensive backfield. Marty, defensively, I like this team. From the defensive side of the ball, again, it's the offense I'm worried about. Not so much as far as play calling, but it's more you got an offensive line that you put Tristan Wirfs on the left side now. Then you got Robert Hainsey as center. And as I mentioned, the reason Hainsey's playing center is because Ryan Jensen is out for the year. I'm going to put something up here, Marty. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about Ryan Jensen. Also, if you heard the news today, he did restructure his deal with the team.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think he gave us about $7.7 million in cap space this season.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this from Pewter Report here. Marty, Jensen was slated to make $11 million in base salary and have a whopping cap charge of $17.267 million due to money from the restructure this summer, rolling into the 2024 salary cap year. That was big there. Now with the new restructure for the next year, Jensen's cap charge is reduced to $5.977 million, which the team will have to carry throughout the initial part of the 2024 offseason during free agency. But that's a big cap savings of over $11.299 million for the Bucks in 2024. Now, by doing this restructure, Tampa Bay can release Jensen after June 1st, which would make his final cap number in 2024 be just $4.767 million. Sounds like I'm the one drinking and not you, Marty. Get myself. So yeah, I'll bring up a little bit more here on this.
And for a lot of Buccaneers who don't know, this is the second time this past offseason that Jensen has restructured his deal to give us some cap space.
Right, but it is still kicking the can down the road. So, no matter how you look at it, that can's still going to be down the street there. So they'll eventually have to look at that. If the Bucks didn't do this restructure for 2024, they would wind up cutting Ryan Jensen prior to free agency next year, with just a minimal cap savings around $700,000 in savings. Having Jensen's entire $17.267 million cap charge on the books for 2024 would consume a great deal of cap space and here's the important part: limit the Bucks in free agency next year, which we all know. There's a lot of people coming up for deals, Marty. Winfield, I believe.
Tristan Wirth, Devin White.
Devin White, yeah. And
Chris Godwin's deal was fixing to expire. His 3-year extension he signed in 2021. That's coming back up again.
Right. And as you can, I'll read the rest of this. The Bucks are currently working on a contract extension for Mike Evans. We already know that. And have new contracts on the horizon for safety Antoine Winfield and left tackle Tristan Wirfs, as you mentioned earlier, Marty. Although he could play on a 5th-year option next year, that would be Tristan Wirfs. And I'm assuming the Bucks will probably do that. They've already, actually, I think they already did pick up his 5th year. In addition to possible new deals for quarterback Baker Mayfield, that's, that could be a key too, Marty. Like if he does actually play well this year, they could be extending him. Inside linebacker Devin White, strong safety Ryan Neal, and left guard Matt Failer. That is depending on how each performs in 2023. So as you can see, I'll read one more here. Again, this is from pewterreport.com. Thank those guys. They do a very good job over there. If Bucks center Ryan Jensen is going to make a miraculous comeback from his knee injury, the new deadline for doing this is June 2nd, 2024. If he doesn't, that's when the Bucks are expected to cut him. So they're kind of still giving him an opportunity to try and come back. But again, we've heard stories, at least I have, that this could be it for him, as far as playing career goes. I'll read this also. Cut him, or when it's expected that he will retire at the time to help Tampa Bay's salary cap. The latest restructure will push $11.801 million worth of dead money into the Bucks' 2025 safety cap. Okay, so that's another thing too, because let's say Marty, for example, a couple of these rookies or these second-year guys start playing well, like a Logan Hall, for example. Once they get to 2025, that dead money, it's going to kind of triple the cap a little bit. But again, every year NFL salary caps do get more money, so we'll see what happens there. It may seem like kicking the can down the road, but for Jensen's dead cap money, that's when it will end in the 2025 season. Pushing that down the road will be okay, as the NFL salary cap is expected to grow by more than $20 million over the next 2 years. So Jensen's dead cap money will account for a smaller percentage of a cap charge in Tampa Bay by then. So that is from Pewter Report today. Again, they do a great job there. So Marty, do you think this is it for Mr. Jensen? Do you think this is?
I do. He has taken part in I think 3 practices this training camp. And what I've heard, stem cells that he had procedure done on his knee has not responded. And with the length of the injury he had last season and come back from for that one playoff game, it didn't respond quite as he was hoping. But with the ligament damage in his knee, and you've already kind of pushed away the idea of having surgery where you would be 100% healthy this upcoming season if you would have took that surgery, kind of like Colin Murray and stuff. And he might not have been ready for week 1, but week 3, week 4, week 5, he could have came back. I think with the ligament damage and, with offensive linemen, with their weight and stress that comes on their legs,
right?
Pretty confident this is it. He's going to end up probably retiring as a Buccaneer. He's going to probably retire in March or April.
Yeah,
right before the draft, I think he's going to retire, and we'll probably end up taking that first-round draft pick. If we don't have a top 5, if it's 18, 19, 20, he'll probably end up being an offensive lineman in next year's draft if we have a middle round-ish draft pick.
Right, and we got to also see how Hainsey does as a center this year. Let's say he plays pretty good. Maybe he earns another year as a starter. Maybe we don't necessarily draft a lineman in the first round, but I do think we need to booster our depth. And I do think this will be it for Jensen myself. I mean, I've heard rumors, people talking about how he's got like his own business. I think with Garrett Gilkey or something. He's a good friend of
Yeah,
his.
I follow him on Instagram. He's building houses up there in Minnesota and
Right,
Colorado.
yeah. So I think the retirement plans are being put in place. Perhaps, when I heard stuff like that, it's like, well, that's pretty good business right there. I don't think Jensen's going to be hurting much after, at least physically, after he leaves the game. But if this is his last hurrah, Marty, I got to tell you, man, he's what a great player he was for this team.
Oh yeah,
He came in 2019 from, I believe it was 2019, came from the Ravens in free agency. Um, he brought that nastiness. That
he brought us an attitude on the offensive line that we needed because before Jensen got there, we was just being pushed around and being kind of like a soft organization. He brought this attitude and nastiness. It's like, well, if you're going to run down our throats or if you're going to come out right quarterback, you better bring everything you got in the kitchen sink because there ain't no way in hell on my watch you can't get my quarterback.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially when you have the goat that you're snapping the ball to. I mean, you're going to protect that guy. I mean, Tom Brady expects you to protect that guy, and I know Brady was part of the fault for last year's debacle, but not having Ryan Jensen really made a difference. I thought, in how this team played too, because again, you set the attitude. He set the attitude, and you're going to miss that. With now, I know he'll be on the field during games. He's going to, but it's still not quite the same as him actually being out there on the field.
Yeah.
A guy like Cody Mock could really benefited from, Jensen. And I'm sure he will benefit from his teachings and everything, But, man, I would have loved to seen, Ryan Jensen and little Ryan Jensen, play together.
Like in the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. That would have been perfect this regular season.
Well, yeah, but see, Arnold and Danny were not they weren't identical twins, but Jensen and Mock, I would say, are identical twins. In fact, they could be big brother, little brother. But yeah, I see what you're saying, though. I mean, I just would have liked to have seen them play together. It would have been so cool,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, with Jensen, what a shame, man. And I'm not going to get into this debate of, shouldn't he have had the surgery? Should he not have? Listen, I mean, it was his choice. It is what it is. We can't do anything about it now. But again, I want to say thank you. I want to thank Mr. Jensen if this is his last hurrah for bringing that attitude to this team, and it just made us so much better and more respected around the league.
Ryan Jensen, this upcoming season, to me, it feels like the final season with Mike Allstott. He had suffered that neck injury, and he spent last season on IR and was just on the sideline for moral support. That's what that feels like with Ryan Jensen right now.
That's a very good example, Marty. I'm glad you brought that one up. That's a very good example right there. I was going to say more like Vincent Jackson too. Remember, he had the injuries his final year, couldn't be out there, and he's kind of a mentor to Mike Evans. So
yeah,
it's a shame, man. But yeah, that is the news on Ryan Jensen. So there is, some, as far as from the team standpoint, there is a little bit of good news as they did restructure the contract to make it more, give the Bucs a little more money in the cap. And like I said, and as the years go on, 2025, the NFL will put more money in the salary cap, so it won't be as big a loss. But go ahead.
Plus, after this season, we're paying Tom Brady what $35 million in dead money. After this season, we don't have to worry about that. And then on that defensive tackle that came from the Bears, which his name kind of escapes me. They restructured and voided seasons or voided years, and that's also like a $6 or $7 million cap hit, which I wish I could remember his name at the moment. But
are you talking about Keem Hicks?
Yes, Keem Nicks. We signed him like a 2-year, 3-year voided contract on a 1-year deal.
Right. I think he went to the Texans, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
And it's just after this season, we'll have more money, but
yeah. But you know, guys like Winfield ain't going to be cheap. Devin White ain't going to be cheap.
mm-mm.
that's and that's
Because
why.
David White wants to be the highest paid linebacker in football, and I'm
Oh,
sorry, he's not worth that. Yeah, he's top 10 barely, but he wants to be top 5 or top 2 highest paid linebacker, and it's just not there. I mean, I've watched the preseason games, and there is a handful of instances where when he's on the field, he is lost in coverage again, and that's like the story of his career. He gets lost in the middle of the field.
right,
You can't
true.
do that because Levante David has a sixth sense of where he needs to be at. Devin White doesn't have that.
But see, the thing is too, Marty, and we Johnny Dean, our good friend, mentions it too that Devin White, or I mean, Levante doesn't like to call plays. That's Devin Wright's job. So I always felt like Devin White shouldn't be calling plays. He needs to concentrate on his game. It's just been inconsistent since the Super Bowl year. He had a pretty good 2021, but then 2022, we saw the games against like the Ravens on a Thursday night where he just you know
Yeah.
quit on a play or just the inconsistent. Sometimes I'm seeing a lot of Quan Alexander and Devin White with the missed tackles or he whiffs on um, a certain play and stuff, and that's what I'm talking about with the inconsistency. But then there's times where he makes the great plays, the splash plays, the sacks, the fumbles, the
You know who
positive.
that reminds me of?
Who?
I'll throw one more. You said Quan Alexander. I'm going to throw one more that made big splash plays but looked lost half of the game. Barrett Rude
Rude,
that we
yes.
used to have.
But Barrett played hard though. You got to give him credit. He played very hard. I thought guys like Quan didn't play as hard. There were certain games where he did. I remember the year where I think his younger brother had passed away, and Quan had the game of his life
Yeah, against
against
the
Tulane. Yeah, and but then after that, it seemed like he just was never able to pick up that consistency. There has to be, unless there's a real motivational factor. Quan didn't play as it was just too inconsistent. Where at least with Barrett Rude, he was always consistent. Now, yeah, sure, he would whiff on plays and stuff, but you always got that hard that hard work out of him. He played hard every single game. So yeah, I know what you mean, man. That's a good one you brought up there. So
Devin
yeah,
White's too worried about. He's kind of too worried about his
yeah,
kind of like his own personality and his own rep or like the live what's it called live live 45. It's
yeah.
like he's worried about his own product before he goes on the football field. It's like him.
Hmm.
And that's just something that's not going to work out. You're not going to fucking be a good football player if you worry about your own merchandise or your catchphrase starts crying because you want to be a top 5 linebacker, but when you sit there and watch your film and your previous games and film study, you're lost on the football field for over half the game.
Yeah, and again, like I said, that focus has to be there, especially this year. Where this is you know a free agent type of year for him, and I just hope that we see consistency every game. They need him too. The Bucks. They're going to need a guy like Devin to step up because again,
Yeah,
we got Vita Vea, but you know, JTS has to step up. We haven't seen much from him yet. Like I said before, I think he has 4 sacks in 2 seasons for the Bucks, and we haven't really gotten the best out of him.
you're talking about Joe
Uh,
Trice.
Joe Tyron Chienka, yeah, he was kind of supposed to replace JPP, but hasn't really lived up to that full potential yet. So
He
I'm hoping
got
this year.
enough muscle. He still almost looks like he does. He almost looks like the same he did when we drafted him that first rookie season. He just hasn't put any weight. He hasn't learned the craft of being a defensive end or outside linebacker. He wants to use his speed, and I'm sorry, speed does kill, but it can also kill your team when you. That's the only thing you're relying on is your speed. But you got guys that are 200, 300 pound linemen that can, if they catch your ass, then you're done.
Right. Yeah, and Marty, that's one of the things about Todd Bowles' defense is he relies on speed, and that's that's fine. But again, it is a vulnerable type of defense, especially when you got guys who over pursue and whiff on tackles here and there. And like you said with JTS, Devin White, I always felt like Levante played better in a 4-3 than a 3-4. You know what I mean? Like, whereas, yeah, Devin's better in a 3-4, but JTS, I I kind of see him better in a 4-3 than a 3-4. Now I know why they drafted him because of the speed, the athleticism. So there are some weaknesses in the 3-4, but like I said, JTS, it also he has to develop, his skill set. We don't really see like a Kalijah Cansey, who's a rookie when he did rookie training camp. He's got some moves already that JTS doesn't, or hasn't established yet. So yeah, this is a big year for JTS and Devin White. So with that being said, Marty, and everybody, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But man, Mr. McKnight, thank you for coming in tonight. This is helping me out, man. This is a lot of fun to talk to you, man.
Oh yeah, not a problem.
And do you want to promote yourself, bud?
Not really. Can't really find me. I just kind of pop in when I can.
Damn, I can't find you. Okay, no, but you're on here tonight. So again, appreciate the love, man. Um, any final thoughts before we get to week one, Mr. McKnight?
Uh, if our offensive line can kind of hold up a little bit, I have faith in Baker and more. I I have more faith in Baker watching the preseason games than I had. It's going to all go down on the running game and the offensive line. I really believe we can run the ball. Baker's going to kill the Vikings with the play action because that's their main bread and butter right now with this offensive line or offensive scheme that we didn't have last year with Byron Leftwich is play action. And that I believe if that's something we had last year with Brady, because Brady he loved play action, and of course Byron Leftwich was kind of brain dead. But then again, he did have a wounded offensive line, but play action with the right quarterback back there, you can pretty much carve up any kind of defense you want. So. Uh, Pretty confident with Baker Mayfield. It's going to go down to the running game, and to me, it's going to be the defensive front of the Buccaneers. If we can get two Cousins, I think we can come away with this victory in Week 1.
Very good stuff, Marty. I kind of echo those sentiments there. Again, I like the play action. I think, Baker Mayfield fits perfect with this offensive scheme. But it is going to depend on, like you said, the offensive line has to be healthy. It's going to take a little bit to gel because, again, you're going to have Hainsey. He's the new center. Mock's a rookie, right guard. Gadecki's moving to the right tackle, which he had a little struggle with in preseason. Tristan Wirfs, as great as he is, he's going to be on the left side now. It's going to take him a little bit. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see this line maybe draw a few flags here and there in the first couple games. Just it might be some plays that don't turn out well right away, but if they can get that unit together, that chemistry going, I mean, this offense can be good enough to compete in the NFC. I mean, especially when it's in a division where these four teams, Carolina, Atlanta, kind of rebuilding. New Orleans, wait and see with Derek Carr and Chris Olave. We'll see if Michael Thomas can actually stay healthy.
I give it 2 weeks. I give Michael Thomas 2 weeks.
Oh, you're a lot more confident than I am. Well, he's healthy now, so he did make it through preseason. So that's a good sign for the Saints, I guess. So yeah, but other than that, I think this team can compete in this division. I don't see why we can't.
Yeah.
Marty, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time, my friend.
All right, not a problem. Glad you had me on for a little bit.
All right. Take care, Marty.
Yes, sir.
All right. That was Marty McKnight, good friend of mine on this episode. You can also catch us on the NFL edition. We're not doing a show tonight, but we're usually on every Thursday nights around 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, so with that being said, we're going to wrap this one up on another edition of Let's Buck with Ben. Thank you for everybody for watching tonight. Like I said before, on the bottom of the screen there, that is my social media outlets on X at BennyBoy702. On YouTube, when you're watching this, you can watch this show and all my shows on YouTube. It's my channel is Ben Cornett 9015. On Facebook, if you're watching there, it is on the Ben Zone. If you're not on the Ben Zone, you're just a friend of mine on Facebook. I share that on my page as well. And if you're on Instagram, you want to follow me there, it's Ben702 forever. That's Ben702 forever. So everybody, please, pretty please, like and share and subscribe to this show and to all my other shows. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this one up, but thank you again for tuning in tonight. And we're going to be doing another show next week. I'll give you the details on when and where that's going to be. Definitely do one before week one. We'll go over the week one game against Minnesota, see what kind of team Minnesota's got, what we're going to be going up against. And yeah, so check that out. And everybody, have a good night and take care. And we will see you next time right here on Let's Buck with Ben. Take care, everybody.